Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Morning. We're here to deal with the Black Folks Group, trying to pull things together, what are the problems that we're having, and how are we being misguided or passed over? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, welcome to, and how we will do this is start with our names. My name is Charles McCall. I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My mother brought me out here. In fact, the way she gave me my name was the whole time I was being born that year. Elder Charles McCall beat Rocky Marciano. That was a big thing for black people at that time, so they were looking to put people in a better place. And so they gave me that name, hopefully I would carry that spirit of winner, champion, or whatever. I don't know, I just know that I am somewhat happy, but then too I'm not. But hopefully today, maybe we can come together as a whole and have a peace for all of us.
Okay, my name is James Adams. It's actually James Leonard Adams. I'm from Sacramento, California. Funny thing, my first name translates to Jacob in Hebrew, which is Israel. My full name is translated from what the words mean is truthful, lion-hearted first man. I'm here because I'm under some tutelage, learning how to work in associations and in the church and to serve in the community. Learning to build a life and to help make things better for all of us here.
My name is Bessie. I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My mom brought us down here. And I'm trying to learn about. And right now I'm homeless, looking for a place. And go from there. I'm trying to focus on me and my son. Autistic. So that's a good thing right there. And seems like everywhere I go, people got shut in the face. And, you know, sometimes it's like one good one.
My name is Mackenzie Shakur. That's my chosen name. Mackenzie translates to love. And I was given the name by Phoebe Shakur. He's my mom. I wound up here. My first husband was from Seaside, and I fell in love with the place 20 years ago. And my third marriage, he moved me down here to isolate me from everyone, so he could be abusive. So I got rid of him. But I have a 10-year-old autistic son as well, and I feel like there is no services for me or for him as far as developmental and or behavioral issues. And I also noticed that in this county, I know back in the day there was a greater percentage of Black and African people here, and that's not really the case anymore. And I feel like our voice has been silenced effectively due to this community. And one of the worst things to happen is we, as a community, got selfish with ourselves. We no longer lend ourselves to each other in time, thought, or prayer. And whatever I can do to make our community more cohesive, that's what I'm here for.
I'm Evangelist Yvonne Starr. I'm an evangelist in New Life Deliverance Ministries. I'm here by way of the military. My husband was a soldier, a 4-war soldier, and I worked for the government. We came just before they closed the base down. And after that, I started going to meetings trying to find out what was going to happen to us if they closed the base. We were living in Preston Park. It's a housing area that was mostly for military families. And we had a meeting about what was gonna happen to us with Congressman Sam Farr. 2 weeks after that, we got notices pasted on our door. It said everybody had to clear the area out because the military did not have enough money to keep the utilities on. There was no help, no financial help, no help from the Army and the public didn't know what was happening with us. They kept us separate. And so we had to move. And I started the Fort Worth Environmental Justice Network because I got fired from my job because I guess I was too nosy. I was going and looking at too many things that was happening to people. So out of this organization, which is Environmental Justice, which is about the environment of the total person, it's about dealing with the community. The people, rather than just the environment. Did somebody just spray something in here? Did somebody just spray something in here?
It's fine, you're fine.
It's not, feel like some kind of chemical. And so anyway, we started,
Thank you for your,
and I'm also a commissioner in this county. I'm the community action commissioner that looks out for the welfare of the low income people. And poor people, whatever people, and I don't get paid for that. I'm attending all of the meetings, I'm going to the Reuse Authority meetings because they're building houses that start at $400-some thousand, $600-some thousand, but they're not building any houses for the people who live here, the community, and for the poor people and low-income people. So that's just a little bit of it, and I'll stop now.
my name is Samantha. I'm originally from Maryland, D.C. line. I came to Salinas for a year and a half. I've traveled all over the country. One of my sons is autistic as well, and I get that training finding the proper help for him, especially that's where I'm and I'm a new mom.
My name is Rachel. My father named me, and my mother delivered me, and this is my mom right here. And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure.
This is Joseph. What's his name? Joseph.
His name is Joseph.
Just call Emmanuel Scott out.
So Joseph was my brother who was murdered in the twin. He was half black, Mexican. Paul was. Emmanuel was my son who lived in Sacramento with his mom, who never knew a father, never knew what it meant to be a man. So he jumped in front of a train. And I lost him to death.
And Scott was my godfather who died a day before my son was born.
So he's our hope for all of his lives. And will mention herself later on.
So I'm Pamela. My name means sweet spirit or all honey. And my mom named me.
My name is Robert Nesta Richard, just like Robert Nesta Marley. My name given to me from my father. I'm from Jamaica. I came here about my son who was being taken away from my wife, the CPS. And now I got here and I'm fighting the case to get my son back from the CPS. And my son doesn't know me that much, so I'm fighting to get myself to know me. They're in between my son, so my son cannot get to know me. And I only get to see my son once a month for an hour.
How old is he?
5. He's just 5, February 9. And my son name is Hector Richards. So I'm kids going to court every week. After all this time going to court, and I go to court third time, and my attorney don't show up.
we're happy that you're here. Dealing with Monterey County House, we've been meeting, and we look forward to your feedback and how that Monterey County Health can improve services and get to know who you are. And so we're grateful. This is a focus group that deals with cultural relevancy and cultural humility. And so basically your input matters. And so Charles is going to be asking some questions, and then
I'm a Creole Geeks fan and veteran, but I haven't been able to get to my whole source of being a Creole because I'm out in California, and there are very little, if many, right where I live at. Maybe in Oakland, maybe in San Francisco, but there's really no different than I can go to deal with my own culture. So this is part of what I'm after. So we can all come together as black people, as individuals, no matter what you are, if you want to be known as a black African or whatever, okay, that is your right, and have access to that. So, see what we go down, what we do.
and as we go around, again, the culture that you identify with, so like with Charles, he said Creole Beach, veteran, and black. So as we go around and you express what you call yourself. So your cultural identity would be what? But how you identify yourself, your culture, who you are as a person.
There we go. Celebrating the life of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is the only country in the world who never go to slavery. Yeah.
So identify as black, usually as American, more than anything else. Something interesting is recently I found my larger family, my client Emma McCaskey. There's 6,000 of us in Chicago, several thousand of us in Louisiana, a few hundred of us here in Sacramento and San Diego. Our family reunion is coming up in July. And I don't know. You know that on my mother's side there are some mixtures, some Irish and Japanese. I consider myself to be black. I try to the tops. I feel like myself by my country. Good job. For real.
I'm black and Indian. That's my grandfather. You know.
I'll come in front of our.
I consider myself a black Indian African.
Okay, first and foremost, I'm an African woman, but between the slave ports in Africa and my family winding up in the west coast of California, I'm also Jamaican, Choctaw, and that's all I'm claiming. I'm not claiming anything that breaks in.
That is so rude. own,
And you can say who I am.
well, the identity.
I'm a black woman born here in America with African roots. My grandpa South African, my grandmother was too. So, but this is my home. I don't have any other home or any other country that I can claim land or anything else. So, this is where I'm fighting for my life and the life of everyone.
I'm a spirit. And then I'm black, and then I'm Indian. That's all I claim.
So I'm a mom of conscious children that are basically their grandfather's was from Africa, and their grandmother is part Native American, a lot of Native American, dealing with the land in Oklahoma, unconscious and culture. And my dad has a natural afro, but he never said that he's part black. But my maiden name is Morris, so I know there's an intersection plus dealing with Irish roots, then from the railroads to Barbados to the plantations and everything. I mean, I relate with the culture and continents and communities. Has anyone, if we could go around, has anyone ever been to the behavioral health or mental health services in the county? Or the behavioral health specialist in the county? And if so, did you feel welcome? Or were you, how was your experience in dealing with behavioral health or the behavioral health providers, or did you feel welcome, or could you tell us about the experience? So
I'm dealing with that part of the service. I'm a veteran, and I get most of my things executive. So, anybody here? Robert? Have you?
Not written, just for the beer in class. Beer in class about like my son and learn about child beer
So it was
in the CPS.
And
I feel pleased and learn a lot.
so they helped you?
Yeah.
you felt welcome? And if you felt welcome, what did you feel welcome about with what they did?
Feel welcome about, they teach you about child beer when a child is small and when they and neglect, when someone neglect a child and how they act and how they behave. So I learn a lot about
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm in the behavior now. And she's going to be
You have a number
I
of
have
contacts.
they want to talk to the
This is actually what's going on.
okay, but because ever since my mom was like always this thing. Then just speak to me. So you have to talk to somebody, but there's something you just don't want to talk about it.
Both of them. So when I look on social, they're the ones that shoot.
Being homeless, you know,
California
Kind
picture.
of related, and I got a son that's autistic, and we live down here.
Just candy
And
vision.
he don't need to be down. You know, that been hard. They tried to help people that really know they didn't have. They've been nice to me and everything, but they just, there's no way they can help.
This is the language that they're speaking.
So,
And that's an issue. Black women are raised to not show emotion. You stuff your stuff down and you put the next foot in front of the other one and you just keep your life going and you don't deal with your traumas. You don't deal with the things that hurt you and crushed your soul. And what happens is, eventually it's going to come out in an inappropriate way. You know, I know for me, being treated as less than, based solely upon what the eyes see, instead of what the ears hear, what the soul feels, causes a rage. And when I get in this rage, I can't always articulate because my brain is going and my fist wants to go. We'll keep it real. You brought me here for this reason. You know, but so I stay sane and so I stay unincarcerated. You know, you just shove more stuff down, you shove it down, and we don't really have an outlet. Because I'm sure, you know, I need some help, you know, I need some behavioral help and stuff, because I'm not really socialized. I haven't been allowed to be socialized living under white supremacy. So, what we need is to see faces that look like ours when we go into these places for help. We need to deal with people who understand the walk we're walking, who understand that we don't owe anybody perfect English. You know what I'm saying? They need to understand where we're coming from and meet us on our level, as opposed to you being behind that desk and looking down at us because we don't meet your proper protocols or whatever little BS you got in your head. We still need help and we still have issues, and you are still where we are supposed to come. I don't know if I answered the question, but I will. Oh, I love this.
And have you, part of that question was, have you ever, you or any of your family, went to behavioral health? And if so, did you feel welcome? And if not, why not?
I went at a doctor's appointment and he asked me some questions and they were all yes, so he wanted me to speak to the behavioral health chick. The little tiny white girl, she has no idea what I've been through. College educated, you know, I mean, we need people who have had their boots on the ground, who know the pain of rejection, isolation, and marginalization, as opposed to people with a degree who come in there because I know how to type this in and fill out this form, now I have this job. We need people who have a sense of compassion and a sense of connectivity to the people that they're serving, as opposed to it being behind and in front of the desk. So no, I haven't, but I need to, but I didn't relate to her, so I'm not telling you nothing that you can use against me. I got trust issues, and that comes from living under white supremacy as well. So I keep a lot in because I don't trust people.
Should I answer that? Well, my affiliation is mostly dealing with trying to help people who's going through the behavioral health process, and I have a volunteer in my office. She has an autistic son, he's 6 years old. They've been trying to get him and medicate him, but she refuses to let him medicated. She's home trying to homeschool him.
They're just like me.
Just like
I
that.
would not medicate myself.
Yeah, and so now, they keep telling her, trying to throw money at her, telling her how much money she could get if she let him in the system. But she refuses to do that, so she's kind of like in a bind, and she's living with her mom, and it's really hard for her because she's trying to get her education, and this prevents her from getting her education until she can find a program for him. And I'm going to court with parent that's got a son that's in the behavioral health program, been in ever since he was 17 years old. He's now in his late 40s or 50s. And we went to try to represent him to be an extended family for him. The judge, I stood up and told the judge we was there to support him. My husband and I, because my husband's a pastor, and he told me if I could not follow the rules of the court, I said, I know, you want me out, I'll be in the hallway. And so I told the judge that because the lady that got up and testified against him was supposed to be one of the workers, and they said, why is he now? She said, well, he talks to God and he carries his Bible with him all the time. That was a slap in the face of anybody, that was a reason why they were bringing him to court instead of keeping him like he was a prisoner. They had an orange outfit on him like he was a prisoner in jail. And they had him shackled. They had the chains on his hands in the courtroom. And I never got over it. This was like a little over a year ago. And he's still in the system. And I haven't gotten over that. And my organization with this process is to do something about it. And that's why I'm going to every meeting I can go to and do everything that I possibly can. I know I can't do everything, but I have really felt alone in the process. So I think we have one and trying to see about getting this situation straightened out, because without the voices and without the support of each other, we can't do it. And I cannot see myself being in a place where nothing can be done. That's not possible. We have to do something.
I am a consumer of mental health. I've actually never had a problem with them. I guess maybe because they look at me and they're not culturally sensitive to the fact that, beyond the blue eyes and the light hair, I might be something else. They just look at the surface. But I've never had any problems. They've always offered resources to me. But I've seen a difference. Like when you go, what's that place is he saying? Village Park. When I went to counseling with Vertis, it helped me to identify more with myself versus going to someone that's Hispanic or white or anybody else. So I think that if they were open to having different nationalities and different translators, it would broaden their horizons and help people, the clients, to be able to associate and identify.
So, my introduction to behavioral health starts in King City at the school. They said that basically my son was hyperactive, but my son was trauma exposed. His sister had drowned and was going through, from small, basically there was no place to socialize. I was looked at different. And so in South County there was no access. So my son started to identify with the northerner culture. And my son began to put himself in unsafe situations. And my son was very sad about his dad not being in his life. So behavioral health basically just saw him as that he was not mature, that he was hyperactive, instead of being able to look at the responsibility that he had from a young child dealing with his father being abusive and his father's family to like call me crazy. After that, my daughter drowned, to basically when my son lived in San Jose homeless and incarcerated because he didn't finish school, he didn't have access to employment, and basically that he was from place to place and he related again with the northern Hispanic, that my son never felt a sense of belonging. He got, eventually ended up in Laredo and Tehachapi, and I brought him back to Monterey County. He was in Turning Point. I would pick him up, and but no one could relate to who he was or where he came from. He ran out of medication. The parole outpatient clinic never made the appointment and saw him. He ended up being over in Antioch, and a train hit him and killed him. There was not services or support that could look at our family as a whole, that could not see that that when I speak to Black or multicultural issues, that my son didn't have a quality of life. There was an access to services, but in my current place with them, because I've been going to the cultural conference and they changed the cultural relevancy. Beyond Chris not being alive, they're bringing Rachel to access and integration. When I asked for the officer today, just recently because Rachel was cycling, they heard Rachel say that they needed to be more consistent in the providers they had. Because why Rachel went, she was not using her medication because there was not a consistency and so the officer today saw Rachel, and now she's going to be back on medication because she feels like they're going to deal with the whole person. And so I didn't feel comfortable to begin with, and everyone in my family has, my brother Sean, basically is bipolar. He's gotten services. And Rachel, she's schizophrenic, audio hallucination, and then with myself, we've been ingrained in working on the access, and I feel more welcome now, but that's because I know how to ask for things in a different way. So, the next question would be, basically, do you believe that there's any barriers to access mental health services? Do you believe that there's any barriers dealing with
like barriers in like blocking? Well, for me,
if you get getting services from them?
For me, my observation with the barriers is my son is going to third floor every Wednesday, and this third is a white lady, and she cannot validate my son, but she validates my son and talking about my son's brain is damaged, and saying that my son, it's going to take him many years to correct that she testified in court and saying that my son's brain is damaged and it's going to take him many years to correct, and he cannot be with me as his father. You know, and whenever time I have several of pictures in my phone and video with my son with me and him. Whenever time I go to the visit, me and my son always have a joy time. We dance, me sing, my son dance. Me sing and my son dance. You know, but they just don't want me to be with my son. They are stealing away my child.
do. City council is set up that way, I don't need any revenue, I'm sorry, I'll wait.
They're
my turn.
still in my child. I know me telling my attorney that I'm not agreeing with what the interpreter is saying, but I'm not agreeing with the court, and I need to get my own psychiatrist to validate myself. And she are just saying, she's what? She putting me down same time, and I said, oh, we are late at this time. And once we start to get out and start to tell her, we start looking to her face and tell her what I don't agree with. Once I go to court, she doesn't come to court. And I'm going back to court on Monday for trial.
She calls me dad.
So I'm still in the process of fighting the case to get myself on the court. Because they're telling that to steal my child.
James?
Yes, ma'am.
Any barriers to access to mental health?
Yeah, I guess, in order to speak on that, I kind of, let's go back to the last one. So I'm diagnosed with PTSD. I've been diagnosed with, I saw a doctor once and tried to, this is going to be agoraphobia. I don't like crowds, I don't like, a lot of people around, that kind of thing. My wife hates the fact that I stay home. I just remember the hell alone. You know what I mean? I got the definition of agoraphobia, or how it works. I've looked at, I actually signed up for SSI once here and started going through the process, and they basically just kind of said, well, no. And I did a long search of myself, and the truth is that I've always done some kind of sales, some kind of work, and I don't want to stay in the service. I found it that it was easier to go the opposite direction rather than mess with people. Just every face of the institution, the programs that I saw was prohibited. It meant somehow giving up part of yourself. For instance, people who I know who are getting Social Security, they get $800 a month. That's not really enough to pay for anything in the state of California. So it's not a, they promise you enough to keep what was it? Someone was talking about, it was a pastor who was talking about government. They want to bury your head in the sand enough where you have one nostril sticking out. They still want you to breathe so they can milk you, but they don't want you to be strong enough to fight. And that's what that system does. You're just not cool. It's my 2 cents.
Barriers to access, Bessie, for the services?
To me, it seems like everything is for like too much. They don't want to, they got translators, they got all kinds of stuff for them, but they don't have nothing for us. They don't even want to really give us nothing. They don't want to help us. Everything is them. White.
I love you too, Betsy.
They don't want, like my first got homeless, they wanted to put my son in a home. I told them, where I go, I don't care. They want to get mad. Because they said they don't want him out here on the street. Okay, what about me? They don't care about me. So they're like, no.
They come with money though.
Yeah, the fun they come with me.
That's right.
Where I go, he go. Where he go, I go. And I argue with them on that. I don't care. I'll tell you where you go. Housing.
What's that?
They get a house like this. Me, I've been home 2 years.
be the lack of support I have with my disabled son. There is no way I could have come here with him and been able to sit here and have this conversation, because he would have been running on the seat. I mean, so my biggest thing is taking him, honestly, I'm gonna keep it real, is taking him to places because people don't understand him. People that live around Marina, they know my son, so they know what to expect anything. But if you're new and you see my son for the first time, they freak out. Because his energy level, normal 10-year-old energy level is about a 10. My son is like at a 25 at all times, till like 1 in the morning. He will not turn down. And then he has a speech delay, which has pretty much rectified itself, but now he says inappropriate things. Mom, shut your ass up. That's what I heard last night. My own blood. So my biggest barrier, other than transportation, is knowing that not only, okay, this is gonna sound really selfish, but that I won't be judged. Because my son, I knew he smoked weed when I was ready with him, but how he turned out like this, only God knows. I deal with it. For $800 a month, which is nothing compared to the work I put in. You know, I mean, I get $800 a week. We're talking. There's no comparison. And I guess another barrier would be, I know for a fact because of past history that when I go in there, there's gonna be nobody that looks like me. And you know, my sense of community is so strong because of my upbringing that, you know, it's hard for me to just open up to other people, especially when I know you may be out to get me. And if you find a way to kick me in the back, you may, then you know what, I'm gonna leave you, your programs, any offer, and leave me alone, and I'll do this on my own. I'm going crazy, I'm losing my mind, but my family's together. And to piggyback on what Robert said, the laws in the state of California are set up for removal, they're not set up for family cohesion. At the time I was in Santa Clara County, and one of our representatives, whatever, Zoe Lochman, her and Rob Reiner, meathead from all of the family, they're the ones that put into place mandatory reporting. So if your child comes to school with a bump on the head, they're calling CPS, and they send people to your house and do an investigation. Well, the whole thing is to facilitate the removal of that child, because the child is worth money to the state out of your hands. And honestly, speaking about something I know, that these policies were put in place, especially as far as poor children. You know you can't access adequate representation, so they can become, you know, domestic work for the rich white people down in Hollywood. There's some twisted stuff going down in Hollywood with the pedophilia and all the people that are coming that are missing. I'm not going to go into my Zionist rant, but you know, there's some nonsense going on.
The regular screen, because I sat down and it was on that.
They eat up, they don't know shit about
Just
it.
the regular screen like
And they
this.
come out worse on the
Check
end.
out all
So I want
kinds
to
of
hear
little
that
things.
you're trying to help him and help his son when he has a culture and an identity that he can culturally identify with, and they're denying him that.
Okay.
That's abuse on the part of the state. That's abusive. To
Now, what
deny
about
child
this, put it on, one of these? Yeah, the Chrome. Chrome?
Well, what I would have to say about that is not so much
Okay, thank you.
a problem with the service, it's a problem with quality services. It's a problem with everybody being treated the same, given the same opportunities in the program, in the behavioral health program. That's what needs to change. It needs to be, this whole structure needs to change. And I've been trying to get a program, which is an exhibit from the human rights. I used to think that human rights is about civil rights, but human rights is about the treatment of people that are in the program. It seems to me that every motion that we have, somebody's got a name for it, which means that something is wrong with you. like you said about the crowds and that kind of thing. So a lot of people don't like crowds. But, you know, there should be a different way to deal with these things rather than to say, rather than you have to walk around for half your life or most of your life thinking that something is seriously wrong with you mentally, that you don't fit into the human spectrum of being treated like human beings. So this program, the Human Rights Exhibit, we've been trying to get it here, and I'm trying to work with the behavioral health people. I gave them a copy of the brochure and everything. And come to find out, after they took the picture and all that, they said, oh, well, we don't want to, that's not for us. So if the behavioral health and the health system here in Monterey County want to really help people and help them toward being part of the community as human beings, then why would they deny a program that would help folks rather than hurt them? So I'm trying to deal with that right now too. Are we really trying to help people to overcome their stigmas or whatever it is that's wrong with them? And therefore, you know, if we can help people to overcome those things and feel like they're really a part of the human race, then they can in turn help other people. And the program could be revamped. Right now, we're looking at just the cash cow. That's what everybody's saying. The people in the program, the parents and everything, there's a cash cow for the county. And that should not be.
Samantha, in dealing with the culture, is there barriers to access to service for dealing with Black or African, your Black and African family?
Honestly, I'm here, I've seen psychiatrists, like go to the building where there's about go to the psychiatrists and they're all the time, except for one. I mentored to see a psychiatrist now. I was seeing one in Santa Cruz for the longest time. Her and I kind of got along, but even though she was white, she didn't understand the system I just came out of. She never been in that system, she never worked in the system, never been in this. So I'm trying to talk to her about that. But when I came here, I had to see a psychiatrist that eventually, after three visits, said that she was not educated enough to help me.
Wow.
Her words. She was pretty much, she worked with people that come out of the drug program. But she never been through that system to know what they went through in jail, in the prisons, and the trouble that they went through. And she wanted to be in my life. She wanted to take over my child's life before he was even born. I just found out I was pregnant, and she wanted, her words was, we can be pregnant together. Oh, really? Freaked me out, and I refused to talk for the rest of the hour. Then very next week she told me, that was our second visit, and then the very next week she told me that this would be our last visit because she was not educated enough to help. So, and I'm like, wow, I never had a psychiatrist tell me that before. So I ended up seeing Tim. He's a white man. He's actually worked for the system. He was actually a parole agent in the prison system, so he knew exactly what I had been through. Maybe he might not know on the side that I've been on, but he's seen how people act. So I actually now recently started seeing him every other week because he says I've come a very long way with working with him. So it's a good thing he dropped me all together, but I wanted to see him. So they diagnosed me a long time ago with PTSD and compulsive disorder. He told me that I no longer have the compulsive disorder. Not as badly as I used to. I don't see any blood sugar. And 7% of my family have ever come across a blood sugar. You can see one in the office. And I think that's bull crap.
Mine was white or Japanese. Yeah.
I really see many
He told me I had psychotic tendency.
Really?
It's gonna be like what I see. So it's like, yeah, I'm like, okay. Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Well, if you did have this kind of
So, well, you go through the woods.
Right, you know what I've been through, you know why I'm crazy.
In dealing with access to services for me and my family, basically people don't see what we need and how that we are. Like when in school, Rachel was the only person I identified with Black culture, and in King City they had her read Roll Thunder, Hear My Cry, and she had to read I'm Nobody's Nigger.
Oh.
And when I went to school, because I taught my children about engineers and scientists and continent and culture, then I said, what are you going to do with the trauma? And I exposed my daughter to like what a queen is. I tried to expose my son, so we express like what they would have in Oakland, like the Ebonics, like with rhythm and tone. And when I show with my eyes, it's like I'm angry instead of expressive. So if I ask for something, even using the word equity instead of equality, it's like, what does that mean? Because the providers haven't had to even think and see us different than what we are. So in dealing with all, like my son, when he went through puberty, he had to talk, is my voice changed because there was no role models around here. And from LA to the Bay, you don't have to talk about what you don't have access to because you don't need this at all. And in libraries and everything where that I would want my children to see something that showed about their greatness or movies or anything else, they couldn't find it anywhere. Whether they found and what I know and what I couldn't have access to, because I worked in solid ed, was the only thing Black that I see is incarcerated young men that aren't producing the next generation. No property owners, no business owners, or anything like that. So the barrier to access for me is that without the language, without the experience, that nobody even knows that there is any disparity because nobody's here. There's no property owners, there's no businesses, there's no grants, there's no anyone that can do this because basically there was still Black and white color lines, and my children identify with Black, but they can't live in socially. They can't, like my daughter can't get pants without showing her butt crack because the pants don't fit the body form of a sister. You can't get Black products from Black people. You get them from Asian. You cannot get anything from like shea butter except from the Saturday market because nobody even know about shea butter or coconut, and especially dealing with diet and everything. The quality of life from a baby, the way that even dealing with Rachel's hair and my daughter's hair, basically, I mean, if there was a stylist that could help people not have to do weaves and press their hair and put lye and everything, instead you gotta put a bandana on your head and not be able to look natural, because I think that the people call you my Ingra, and basically, and so it's like before I couldn't have access because I came with informed language, but there was nothing that I could offer. So with Rachel now being willing to trust me, then it's just like a matter of like, what's the environment that she can go to? Because at 31 years old, when that she laughs or she sings or she screams, it's like, I could have been kicked out because that's how that she deals with the rage of losing her brother and her father shooting up with heroin. And nothing is strength-based. It's all like what's wrong and what doesn't exist, or you need to be quiet and not be aggressive. So like even when I went to interim and I expressed, they said I had to be quiet in the clinic that is supposed to deal with integrated care. So the barrier is that I feel and I went through things, but if dealing with the quality of life in my whole person, it's just like, if my eyes look angry and my voice has a tone in it, that basically that there's no place that deals with passion as a part of your spirit. And so that access comes from not being able to have an environment of care like that they do in Oakland and in Los Angeles, and because they don't see and don't know and understand and reflect, and I just look at angry instead of sad and expected. So it's just like, I can't use words to explain the intergenerational things that I went through that don't exist anymore at all. And to be able to get what that I need, it's not about you interpreting me, it's about you celebrating me and who I am and in my uniqueness, because it's the only thing that I have left. And me dealing with black daughters, how to lift their head and give them opportunity, even in how they would marry and what that they would become, when there's no pathway or quality of life except through medication. So Rachel got to be medicated because everything around her and everything within her is a voice telling her, dress like that, or don't do that, or don't connect that. And so it's like, I can't have access to anywhere that sisters are that know about this, because the elder women aren't even here anymore. And in the church, we'll go there and they'll speak and they'll sing and they'll have rhythm of the elders and ancestors. But after we leave, we're strangers. So we socially isolated because, you know, it's all we have left is that inner scream that says, where do I belong and who am I? I don't have no face, I don't have no place, or anything like that. So I'm really concerned. I mean, they're not married. Why? So even for that quality of life, and the access that behavioral health can give, it's just like, it's not there. Except for like if I go to Saturday market, like I said, then it's like, ooh, I can smell some smell, and I can see some shea butter that will make you know, skin look beautiful, but the hair and everything, she want to press her hair instead to let it be natural, you know. And it's like she assimilated instead of being able to express. So that's the barrier. It's like, not what's wrong, but what's strong inside of a culture. And to have to express it, I get really tired of it. You know, I know how to speak English, but how they interpret me is like, they don't get it. So the other part that we gotta ask is, what type of mental health services do you believe need to be offered by behavioral health and mental health? What do you believe that needs to be offered?
Well, mine is diets, so I'm not precise because I believe people should eat a certain way. But I think we should have more, what we talked about before, there should be more people, black people, not people of color, but black people that's in there, because we get lost in the thing of people of color, okay, because then that's us. When in the 60s, we were known as colored people, okay, that was on anything you got. But like right now with the regulation that they're doing, they praise us people of color. So that loses us as being a black people because we're not Mexican. Okay, so the make population up here are Mexican people who has the language and the court. We don't. There's nothing for us as a whole. Okay, we're lost. Okay, and they're not coming to it. And when I go, or if I do have to go to a place to ask for help, I'm looking around for somebody who I think looks like or would help me, and all I get is maybe a half smile or a frown, but it's not there being straight with me as being a black man. Okay, that's not here in, per se, Monterey County or America. Okay, that's what we have to deal with, and till then, we're going to keep having the same problems we're having now. Not knowing where to go. You look on the streets right here. If there's so much out there, and people don't want to be there, But our county or our city who's supposed to be helping the people by way of our government is not, and all they know is to lock them up. Come on. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, maybe we can do something or maybe give them an idea, but right now this is where we sit. And maybe doing this maybe once a month or twice a month, as it says, to keep some type of ordinance or some type of our minds or other people seeing that we are trying to do, feeling, and maybe they want to raise their hand and come and see. And to me, that's the greatest thing. But right now, this is, you guys are those walls, okay? You guys are those strengths. What you have, what you know, everybody else don't know. You're in that spot to help them get there. Because they don't know. They have to go up to the same person that you seeing to ask him for help. He's going to give you help. Because once he looks at you, oh, you're nothing like me. He's not going to get it. Oh, you don't speak the same language I speak. Okay, all that's going to come. He's not going to tell you that. He's going to smile at you, but he's not going to tell you what he can truly do for you. We are, come on.
Robert, for you, what services?
For me, I don't see no services out there for me. Right now, we have to leave from here all the way to San Francisco. I'm living right now between San Francisco to San Leandro. And I get my hair done all the way in Oakland. I search all around here and I can't find anything to help me. And out here is not good for my son. I just came here to get my son and go back to Jamaica. I don't wish to be here because I don't like what I see with my eyes.
So if they offer you a service, if the mental health offered services, what would you recommend for them to create?
If they offer me service, I would recommend them to create more structure for black people, where black structure. More things of nature, more things of health, where, you know, a system of work. You can stay in Salinas, live in Salinas, go to work, come back home. You know? Nothing's out there. Everywhere you go. Salinas, Seaside, Marina, every business is what control. Our agent, you know, and it all started off before, from way behind back where like the majority, the system is the white people. You control the system, like the city, the state. So they more give the Asian or the Indian or the Mexican a more welcome. You know? You see? And it's very difficult because even from my sub-parties now, the system calls me new people. Instead of new people for myself. You know?
James, if they can create mental health services here through behavioral health, what would it look like or what would it be?
I've been thinking about this as we've all gone around. My short answer is wellness or wholeness. Something that actually tries to not let people. My biggest issue when I lived down here in the tent, and used to come in here, was they wanted to put you in these boxes. This checklists. I said, you know, this and this were wrong with you, and this used to be the service. This used to be the, oh, let's get you signed up for Social Security, right? Get you signed up for that thing. Its whole focus was to get you stuck in that system rather than actually helping you get better. So, I mean, I think someone else hit on it about, you know, trying to give you drugs or you know, putting you in a certain box of income. But I think boxes at all. I think if we're not trying to heal a person, heal the whole man, create healing in ourselves, which goes with acknowledgement, as you said, and some other things that you guys have said, allowing us to be accepting the 25, you know, mile per hour or whatever, I forgot the term you said exactly, But it's got to start with acceptance, and then it's got to start with healing. How do we help to bring back a real center in the individual, instead of trying to bring the individual center to a whole other place? I think that's really destructive. There's a saying, normal is only sitting on the dryer, it's nowhere else. So we can't make everybody be normal. We can find out what is the norm for the individual and help them to step into that and grow in it. The other that comes to mind is what this fellow here was saying. What was it? Our system, this is, again, where my stuff comes up. Sometimes I forget what I'm
I
saying.
actually have one here at the moment.
Sometimes we,
Tomorrow?
wrong way.
We here at 10-ish, 9:30, 10-ish. Come in and one of those two after that.
The two things are, our system is designed not to help us normal, the other part was,
I'm not sure who's going to be here.
I'm not forgetting, I'm going to look back with the later on.
It's tomorrow.
I know it was a complaint about the system and how it works and what it does with people, but I'm not remembering the detail right at the moment. I'll come back to it. Or,
Jesse, if you could create the services or have mental health provide services or support, what would it be like? What would you want them to offer?
A little bit of,
Okay, one culture.
they should be here around 9:30 and 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay?
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Red, now.
You're welcome.
Just, watching passionate.
Mr. Lerner.
Robert said everybody else gets, better treatment than us. You guys see changes. I'll do a blink too.
sorry, it's done right now. We don't need to-
But let me say this though, when I first moved here almost 12 years ago, from the Bay Area, I was so excited because I moved from San Jose. The agency was right, and there's 8 black people in the whole county, and we are on our own. So I moved down here, and everywhere I turn away my house, I see black people. Oh my God, this is nice. I can get something started, right? So my first idea, I talked to the lady up on the reservation behind the Korean school. She was gonna let me rent a room once a week to have a black women support group where we could come in, and I was gonna bring out all my cloth, we we're gonna wrap our heads. I had this beautiful fantasy, right? But I couldn't find any way to come to the meetings. Totally free, just come, dump your problems with people who understand the problems and never leakage from. I had written a mission statement, I wrote goals and objectives. I had a list of resources, but I couldn't find not one person to come. I think my ideal would be if I like it. Black people had a place for psychiatric help that reflected who we are first. Because before we're crazy, we're black. Before we're anything, we're black. And that needs to be at the forefront in any dealing with someone who's coming for help, especially when they're in a vulnerable place. If your blackness is validated, that can open the door to, okay, well, maybe I can open up a little bit, maybe I can, but if you're not validated, first and foremost by the physical, then nothing else is going to come out of that, because the trust situation.
What's that? Yeah, he's here. He had,
Can I pop in one more time?
he had 2 other interviews
Come to mind.
already.
So this was the thing that came up.
Couple of
I'm watching a show called Breaking Ground. It's on YouTube. It's a sister who used to work for Innocent, who really deals with.
Okay.
But one of them still here.
Yeah.
What she points out is that we need to get out of the minority stuff in funding and everything else, because what they've done is they've changed where this large group is a minority, includes the LGBT, it includes all these other groups, and most of the funding is being diverted away from us instead of to us. And that's what slipped my mind, so I'm throwing it out there. Real quick while I got it.
When I say that we need to be done, we need to stop thinking in people's brains so much as looking at the person and treating the the physical stuff. Because all this digging in is giving people more and more drugs, psychedelic drugs or whatever you want to call it, being issued out by the mental health department. Those drugs are causing a lot of the actions to be worse, suicides and everything else. Just look at what might happen if you take it. If you go to the pharmacy, they'll tell you what they will do to you. And not only that, it takes off 20 years of a person's life when they're on these drugs every day for years. 20 years of their life. I found that out myself by attending some of the bigger mental health forums, like at the Embassy Suites and that kind of stuff. We had people that came to our church when we were on Fort Ord, and we were having church in our living room. They looked like zombies, some of them, when they came in. Sister Thelma helped to get them there. And we got to talking about the Bible, the Word of God. And this guy, he just perked up. He looked like he had been burnt in the sun. He looked like he had been sitting in the sun for a long time. That's the way his skin was. He said, may I play the piano? That guy went to the piano. We got pictures of it. He went to the piano. He started playing the piano. He sang a song, a gospel song. We were just shocked. I was in tears because here this guy is, he's all drugged up. He looked like he didn't have a bit of life in his body, and all of a sudden he just perked up and went to play the piano. And that was my opinion right there, is that this is what we must do. There are people who have all kinds of gifts that they were born with, that they were given, and they're not allowed to use them because the system has made zombies out of them, and don't think that they're worthy of having their gifts exposed to society. We have to get past that, and another thing is, what we have to do as a people is support the people that's trying to help the people. And I know that we have been doing this for a long time. But unlike folks in Seaside that's supposed to be in charge, and they have their organizations and stuff, believe you me, they were once coming to us, supposed to be on our advisory board and everything. Then they decided to branch off, and now it's all about them. And you know, I'm having a problem with that. We're not inviting people. It's like we are outsiders. It's like we come from another country somewhere. And so what I'm trying to do is get together and build a bridge so we can do something, especially when it comes to movie regulations. Those are the things that is what's supposed to be accomplished right now. And with this meeting right here, and I hope it's going to be accomplished, because we don't have any other way to go, but we're still going to have numbers to get it accomplished. Because once they write it in, and it's going to have to be implemented. So it's going to have to be people together, just like every raising culture, to make sure that these things are implemented and that the structure is changing and people are treated right.
I feel like it's from medication, so they can So if there's we have 2 minutes. If there's you could have access, make a suggestion that they could create for behavioral health, dealing with Black and African American services, what would it be? You need more seconds. They need somebody that can relate to the person that they're helping.
Yes.
If you need, the class that was supposed to be behind you, they canceled, so if you need a little more time, we can take a little more. Okay, just don't take the whole hour, visit.
I promise, we promise, we thank you.
But you can have some more time.
We appreciate
All
it.
right,
So for access for me, what they can create is what we're doing today. That we can have bi-monthly meetings with behavioral health people being with us in the community. That basically that they could hire the ethics service manager. That that we can be able to create an annual conference in February that deals with heritage and health, with this focus work group, being able to reach out to the different people so that we can share our stories, that they, again, that we can do outreach, that we continue to do the focus groups, and that programs, policies, and providers are based upon strength-based whole person. Because when that you deal with the issue, dealing with black families or black communities or black culture, it, one thing they'll not, we haven't been able to ask why. It's just been the way it is. So to be able to actually have even trainings that we can guide the providers by the trainings and workshops that we can recommend, and that we can be the oversight to how that they resource the funding based upon the different demographics that we give them. What that I need for, what I would want them to do is to look that it's not black. It's dealing with the demographics of age, of continent, of culture, and that basically that we can act as advocates for situations such as Robert has, where that even in dealing with how that they incarcerate or how that they choose to adopt children, that it needs to be basically they make decisions by the bias they have of what is right for an environment, instead of looking at the quality of life and the pathways. And dealing with health issues or incarceration, most black families deal, or African American deal with poverty and social economic disparities. So what I would want is, again, our focus groups to continue to work like the Latino network, where that we can have people to educate, inform, and help to navigate, especially through peer-led process. And again, that there be policies and providers from the meetings that we have that are actually implemented underneath the Mental Health Service Act. So that, again, that our measurement is by the quality of life and levels of services that are resourced by the county. And hopefully even in community clinics like that they have up in Oakland, where the providers are Black and African American, and that they're able to deal with who they are and what that they need, whether it be transportation, whether that it deal with scholarships and grants, and that especially that the county would look to places that have the similar demographics to apply for innovative grants based upon the disparities that deal with mothers, single mothers, that deal with men who don't have access to employment, that there'll be those grant and funding streams that allow there to be a presence, and that they would prioritize this, because where you see no one at all, then basically 13% of Black service. I would like also for them to show their efforts to outcome with specifics, and not calling it Black, but who did you serve and what ethnicity, nationality, and culture are they, that race would not be a factor. And again, that from this time forward, that the county would not use the term people of color, that it would be inclusive, because there's a disparity and inequity that is faced by Black families and the Black culture that have never been really truly recorded because of using the word Black or people of color. It should be African American, Black, or whatever nationality, Jamaican, Caribbean, that we specifically identify the demographics by nationality and culture and ethnicity, not race. And again, specifically, the priority would not be people of color, because the color line is what creates the status quo. It's how it's been. And for almost 500 years, you can work, but you don't benefit. To call it like it is, that we in Monterey County do not want the word people of color. When it deals with, unless the person self-identifies that they're a person of people of color, but that we have that option on request for services that also says ethnicity or culture.
Kind of like that line on a lot of things that now says, like Indian or something else, but not of Hispanic descent. So we're gonna say black, but not just people of color, but black, African American. These other groups.
Caribbean, Jamaican, Islander, and Rasta.
Which, again, I know I'm catching up, I got some Cherokee too.
Ethiopian.
I always put down the Indian, when I have to do a form, because that's important, right?
Okay.
Well, when they say African American, I cross out the American and I write stolen. So it says stolen African, right? I always like to see the person who opens that federal form, their face when they read that. I miss.
Truth.
And then dealing with federal and state funding, again, to be able to identify culture and standards, services, and quality of life. The next question is to improve access through behavioral health and mental health. What process or policy or anything would you suggest to improve access to African and Black community, individuals, and families? What would improve their access to services, support, policies, or programs?
Oh, yes, I would improve there. It would be, say, again, more people of color, but Black people, okay, because the color thing is not right. But to have more Black people that we can sit down and talk with, again. That's what my perspective is. I can't say anything else because I'm still learning, as in everybody else. Because of the things I've been programmed to that I didn't know then that I know now. Because I'm a veteran, so I see things in a lot bigger scope. And understand that the federal government is responsible. It's not the state of California. We just happen to live in the state of California, but we're federal citizens by federal laws that we must push for them to push upon us. And if we don't, they will keep doing the same thing where our will be known as people of color.
So I don't mean to split the room here. I did the SBA core courses 22 years ago. And it used to be, what was the word that they used? They said minority was the buzzword back then. So, and forgive me, there'll be no harm here. What you did was all of the, I'm just going to say whites, they used their wives as the minority spot. They put them all in business. So it became a women's thing only, not black.
They get white women racist before we did.
Right.
They get them rights before blacks did.
And that's where all the money went. That's where all of the loans, all of the grants for business went.
Don't know what your loans.
So we're seeing the same thing with, I'm sorry, I got to mention it, because this is one that really bugs me. The gays became the civil rights. That's what they have become now. So they've taken that over, and whenever we're talking about civil rights, it's actually them, not us. At the end of the day, they're getting the money.
So to provide access for those things to change, what would your recommendation be for Monterey County behavioral health?
You were just saying. I'm sorry, I'm just waiting on going back over. These are my branding points. you know, it has to say specifically, you know, black of African descent. How's that?
Color thing, that's not us.
Because, I mean, like, again, so I travel the country a little bit, and so here we may say black, someplace else they may say color down south, you know, and east it might be, you know, this or that. So we needed to say of African descent. Just like with the Hispanic, it says of Spanish descent, no matter what they call themselves. They call themselves Puerto Ricans, they call themselves Redskins, it says of Hispanic descent. And we just need that one little mark in there.
Yeah, that's what we need, to specifically of being black, black Americans. I can't say what part of Africa I'm from, but I am an African.
I think we were all mixed with several different tribes.
Oh, well, they raped a whole lot of things when they were doing this thing, and they're not the greatest people in the world, but that's not for us to do. So right now is to fix what we need to go. Their forefathers, I gotta think about mine.
Right.
Okay, so, boom.
For the process of access to services, Bessie.
I agree with him. What he said, I agree with him.
And I have to agree too, you know, make it specifically black. Robert said that, you know, the Indians, the Asians, all these other people fall up under people of color. But what that does is it assuages Americans' guilt to be able to say that everyone's an immigrant when they know damn well the people were held in bondage here.
Some people were on the ship, some people the ships landed off.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, with them.
That's true. So to make it specifically an African descendant thing, you stand under that umbrella, that includes you, whether you're from Suriname, Angola, wherever you're from, you stand under that umbrella. We got you, right? Yeah. There's something else I was gonna say.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the previous question. I don't know what the question was, but I finally got my answer together.
What type of melon?
What would you have them create?
Create, I'm not sure if it's create, but I need them to understand that if you're black, you've been traumatized, and not just with the trauma that you're coming in with, you've been traumatized since you were a child living here. And people need to realize that you're dealing with not just damaged people, but a damaged nation of people. You know, we're all traumatized, and there's no other way. You can't treat me like I haven't been through, like my mother hasn't been through, like my grandmother hasn't been through. You know what I mean? And they did some tests in Israel where they found out the trauma is passed on genetically. So my great-grandmother saw her husband be lynched. The trauma got carried through her children and on down to me. So I don't know why I'm all messed up, but I know that you can't treat me like I'm not, because you may get cussed out. And not intentionally, but because of all the pressure that we have to deal with, because I can't hide my blackness.
All right.
What we need to do, it's good to be writing stuff and if we want to really get things implemented, we have to start at the top. Now, the head of the health program in Monterey County, behavioral health program in Monterey County, they're not here at this table. So what I understand, we're supposed to take all this stuff that we talk about, and it's going to be read in the regulations, written into the regulations. But if we don't if we don't stand together as a people, take the Jewish people for instance, and what happened to them. Do you see them separated? They are together. They came together in jobs, finances, everything. They support each other. Until we tie these knots of support and not just rely on, we're not a plantation. We shouldn't be under one organization, one group of people. And until we do that and be sincere about it, we're going to keep on having these problems. I don't care how many papers we write. The regulations that's supposed to take place with our elected officials in Sacramento, the state, okay, we need to know that they are really gonna be looking at changing this system and looking at us as a people. You can't buy respect. In order to have respect and have these folks to wake up and do what needs to be done, we need to show them that we are together, that we're supporting each other, and that we're not going to sit still and just let them tell us when we tell them about a problem, go to this, go to that group over there. In other words, they're the masters, and they're going to. That's when we should take our problem and then we sit under them, whether they do anything or not, and we give them all the credit. We have to stop doing that.
And you said about starting about support, and with the support we have to have unity.
That's right.
And so for example, in Jamaica, it's a big city, big country, and back in the days, our ancestors, they fight for us to we be what we be right now.
That's right.
Letter, meeting. Back in the days, they write letter, they have meetings
Yes, that's what
to
we
the
have.
European to free the black slave, and nothing is be done.
That's right.
Hard over, he walk like, maybe he walk, I think he go by ox, 200 miles in the city. He lived from the country, St. Thomas, to Spanish town, ruled by the Spanish guy, the governor Hines.
Right.
So Paul Over set up a meeting with the governor because he keep writing letter and nothing is be done.
Go to Sacramento.
So Paul
We have
Over
to do just like the rest
walk
of the group.
he and his people to Spanish town to have a meeting with Governor Hines, and Governor Hines refused to free the slave trade, to stop what they're doing, stop being treated black people. So they refused. Paul Bogle leave back in peace. And the next morning and the next day, he hurt Paul Bogle so much. Him just gather a bunch of people and just start to kill.
Yeah. I travel all around this country
He
for
just started to
this
kill.
community.
And he
For
just
this community.
kill all the white supremacists
And
and
they bring
overthrow Governor
in
Hines.
government funds and all this kind of
So
stuff.
we have to be free
And because the
up to
people
day.
here are so stagnated, they don't even realize what money is coming in. They don't know where the money is going, and they won't get up when they're building the housing. We should be out there. We should be standing out there while they're building that housing as a unit, saying this is not right. We demand to have housing. We are here, this is where we live, this is where we play, this is where we work. We need housing. We need our families cared for just like anybody else.
Sure.
That's what we're gonna have to do. I'm telling you right now, until we do it.
I wanna see some black faces on this work crew too.
And Bob Marley would say, without a revolution, it takes a revolution to solve
right.
the solution.
That's right. Talk about it.
So here in America, if the black people doesn't come together,
That's right.
show up at their offices
Yes.
and rebel,
Yes.
tear off some door.
Don't do that.
Yeah, so what you don't know is that our police are already militarized. They were already in army, and they're prepared for us.
They used
So
to
we-
tell me if I go to Washington DC.
Well,
They took the page in the same book, and they're ahead of us.
In dealing with access, what that I would like to see is, again, we've had meetings at the Methodist Church, but there hasn't been meetings, anything. And so, like at the Latino Network, again, they come together and they meet together and they accomplish together. So to be able to have workshops and actions, that's what I'd like to see. So we thank you for your input. Basically, what we, like I said, what we've been working on towards our recommendations, and so we then videotape, and what we'd like to invite you back to on the 28th to be able to actually go forward and as a focus group and be able to look at areas that we could suggest and give input, also to trainings that need to be had and models that we could create in Monterey County.